Welcome back to the Restricted Handling Podcast. What's coming up next week in the world? Buckle up. This is your Sunday through Saturday orientation for February 8th through February 14th Pacific Time. We open the week with the Winter Olympics in Italy rolling right along. These things always look like pure sport on the surface: skiing, speed, heroic music swelling in the background. But behind the scenes, it's a classic international meet and greet. A lot of flags, a lot of quiet conversations, and occasionally a very loud reminder that geopolitics doesn't take a holiday just because someone nailed a triple axle. Watch for messaging, symbolism, and the occasional awkward photo op that tells you more than the press release ever will. As we get into Tuesday, the global mood starts getting shaped by the United States economic data flow. Labor costs and trade prices drop early in the week. And that might sound boring until you remember that inflation and wages are the invisible hands steering everything from defense budgets to sanctions enforcement. When Washington sneezes, global markets still catch a cold, and Moscow and Beijing always pretend they're totally fine while checking the thermometer every 5 minutes. Wednesday brings the big one: U.S. jobs numbers. This is the kind of release that can move markets in minutes and political narratives for months. Strong labor data means more economic resilience, which quietly reinforces Washington's ability to sustain overseas commitments, including Ukraine. Weak data does the opposite, emboldening skeptics and giving rivals something to smirk about on state TV. Expect fast reactions and faster hot takes. Thursday is where the security world really lights up. European leaders gather informally in Belgium to talk competitiveness, growth, and the economic foundations of power. This isn't just spreadsheet stuff. Europe's ability to manufacture, finance, and move fast is directly tied to how long it can deter Russia and support Ukraine. The European Central Bank president is expected to apply some polite but pointed pressure. Think less velvet glove, more iron hand. On reforms that have been discussed for years and implemented less enthusiastically. That same day in Brussels, NATO defense ministers convene, and this is serious business. Capabilities, production, spending targets, Ukraine support, it's all on the table. The alliance is juggling deterrence against Russia, internal burden-sharing debates, and a changing Arctic picture that Moscow has been militarizing since before it was cool or frozen. The messaging will be disciplined, but the subtext will be loud if you know how to listen. Running alongside that meeting is the Ukraine Defense Contact Group. This is the engine room of military assistance. Less talk, more logistics. Air defense, ammunition, timelines, factories. If you want to know what Ukraine can realistically field in the coming months, this is where the answers start forming, even if they don't get announced with fireworks. Friday keeps the pressure on with U.S. inflation data. Consumer prices and real earnings hit at the same time global leaders are flying into Munich. That timing matters. Inflation surprises can change financial conditions instantly, which feeds into energy markets and, by extension, Russia's revenue streams. The Kremlin has survived worse, sure, but it still hates unpredictability unless it's the one creating it. And then Munich. The security conference kicks off Friday and runs through the weekend, and this is the geopolitical Super Bowl, minus the commercials, plus a lot more body language. Leaders, defense chiefs, spooks, and strategists pack into one hotel and conduct diplomacy at conversational distance. Expect carefully worded speeches, very deliberate phrases about Ukraine's future, and subtle shifts in how China and Russia are framed. Day 2 is usually where the real business happens, behind closed doors, when everyone's had just enough coffee and just enough candor. As for what's not formally scheduled, but absolutely worth watching, NATO's Arctic posture could sharpen quickly, especially as Russia keeps dusting off Cold War habits north of the Circle. Ukraine support announcements may cluster around Brussels and Munich, even if the real story is delivery speed. Europe's reform debate could finally collide with strategic reality. And throughout the week, keep one eye on markets, because sometimes the most consequential geopolitical shifts start with a spreadsheet, not a speech. That's your map for the week ahead. Thanks for listening and being part of the RH community. Please take a moment to leave a 5-star review. If you want to see some changes, email us at info@restrictedhandling.com. We also publish a daily written intel brief on Substack, where you'll find even deeper coverage of Russia and China, along with insights on Iran, the Middle East, and the DPRK.